Primary Tourist, Chapter 32. Okay, I thought I covered January 2012, but I missed a bunch of stuff. One thing, I pretty much skipped the weekend routine. Early every Saturday, Karina and Kara picked me up at Rod and Erica's house. The hosts were already up north, ready to give ski lessons real early. We'd make a dash up to the mountain, stopping only once in Tilton for me to get some coffee, for them to use the facilities. It seems a little silly, but it became our place, symbolizing for her impending joy on skis. And me, I'll be chasing the great white in the comfort of the ski resort. Hot chocolate and coffee and the inspiring mountain on the other side of the glass took a little of the sting of not finding the great white out. And it all somehow kind of sort of started in Tilton. For the rest of the winter, I'd get texts that just said Tilden. And that said it all, which is a long way back to very late January, almost February. And Karina, Kara, and I had a full belly, and I had an appointment with a slumlord. I mean landlord. I get those two confused. The price was right, I thought. Silly me. A cheap dump is still a dump. And that place definitely qualified. Excuse me? Why do I call it that? If you have like 3 or 4 hours, I could put a dent in that one. But I'll just run on by a few of the lowlights. There was the hole in the window in the bathroom, the railing that wasn't welded in, and the scumball slumlord. Can't forget that. But let's not even talk about my roommates, especially the crackhead. But I didn't even know them at the time. Maybe ignorance is bliss after all. But I had a place to rest my head. A home, technically, not actually. Actually, I didn't have a place at all for the next 3 or 4 days. So it was onto the couch of my friend, complete with the TV remote. It was a lot more comfy than my new digs were going to be. The last night on the couch, we went to see The Accelerators. Jennifer was really surprised and pleased to see me. Her hug could keep me going for a while. The hell of it is, though, was that after the while was finished, my heart, and never mind my body, was frustrated and lonely and all around miserable. Corset was fucking awesome. That made for another high, to be accompanied by another crash. And with the crash comes the $1,000,000 question. Why did I leave New Hampshire? What the fuck am I doing here anyway? I knew, though, sir, that if I stayed up north, I'd still wonder what the fuck I was doing here. Of course, down south, I had my old job. I didn't know if that was the good news or the bad news, but there you have it. Winter always sucked for sales. There was a long period between Christmas and March that was colder than the weather. It's amazing how long February can seem, being the shortest month and all. Fucking leap years. January, where the fuck did you go? And what can I do to get you back? Nothing. Sad but true. Past imperfect. Made perfect in memory only. Like a Friday in late February. I'm sure it wasn't perfect. I'm sure when I looked out my window first thing in the morning, what I saw was gray, not even a sunrise. And my trip to the bathroom, remember, I was living in that dump with a hole in the window. So, like I was saying, I'm sure that my trip to the bathroom told me there was a chill in the air. Nothing perfect about it. The chocolate with weed in it that I ate seemed only to match the non-memorable nature of the day. I'm sure I wrote 5 spikes that day, like every non-work day, but I remember none of them. In fact, everything was so uninspiring, I was considering the most direct route to the exchange, hoping that caffeine might get something going. Then, after a StoryCorps that, you guessed it, I don't remember, the local news person talked about how fast the white stuff was coming down. Snow? Really? I had no idea. But finding out about it put a little bit of levity in my step. The levity temporarily turned to irritation as I watched the door handle fall to the ground along with the cardboard jimmies to keep the door shut with it. Fucking slumlord, I said. But you know what, sir? As bad as that dump was, it was better than this fucking place. I'll tell you that. Even the crackhead, as bad as he was, wasn't as bad as the continuous call. Nurse, nurse. Doesn't she know the nurse will never come? I mean, everybody else does. The nurse ain't coming. Everybody knows that, except her. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, snow. Made me smile just to think about it. I saw it when I finally opened the door. Big white flakes. And wet, that's for sure. But still snow, filling the sky and sticking to the ground. As brilliant as the sun, when you think about it, as blinding. Not as illuminating, though. But you know what? Everything past me seeing the snow, I remember like it was yesterday. You know what's ironic? Up north, a snowstorm is like a gift from God. Not down here, I'll tell you. It's like you're at Hades' door. I'll tell you that if one fucking snowflake falls, no matter how wet, or even if it sticks in the middle of February, it's like everybody thinks God dropped everything else just to bust your balls. You know what I mean? Needless to say, that shit can really harsh your mellow, as the kids say. And I knew that that attitude would be rampant at the exchange. So I was in no rush to come in out of the snow. It was a weird storm. It felt like rain, but it looked like snow, white out and all. I realized that all my friends that liked the non cocaine white stuff were in New Hampshire. For some reason, I'd settled on Karina to text. I'm sure it had nothing to do with her dynamite ass. Believe me? My message was kind of minimalist. Yay, snow. I then walked up to India Point Park. You've been there before, I'll bet. Right? Yeah, I thought so. But my guess is you've never been there in the middle of a snowstorm. I could see the bay, but just barely, being on the other side of this white wall of snow. It was that time of day, not quite day, but not 100% night anymore either. In the bay, in the city skyscrapers, and a few modern windmills, and bridges into and from the city, all were becoming obscured by the snow getting heavier as it got wetter. I soaked it in, literally as well as figuratively. It was on awfully wet snow. As I was walking to the exchange, I checked my phone for the time. Holy shit, it's not even 7. I hope I didn't wake up Karina, I thought. Just as I was saying that to myself, I heard that familiar ding ding sound, a text from Karina. Tilton. And there I was, back in New Hampshire, just like that. In my head, I saw the McDonald's where I bought Paul Newman's coffee that made going to McDonald's almost politically correct, or so I told myself, loud enough so Karina could hear. And I could see the snow sticking, giving Karina white knuckles as she slowly moved forward, gleeful as she pictured the fresh snow on the mountain. And I saw Rod and Erica already up north, laughing and eating breakfast at the club, already having peeked outside and smiling from ear to ear. Meanwhile, back in Rhode Island, I was soaked through and through, and I was right. Everybody was bitching about the snow, enough so the bright smile on my face was fading, almost a frown replacing it. Damn, I wished I was heading to the mountain, maybe take the tram up on top. There's another thing I've probably done for the last time. Hell, even when I was whole, the footing could kind of shift at your feet as it crept up. As you got higher, you'd see miles and miles and miles and miles. Shit, that in the distance was Canada. And just beyond that, maybe, just maybe, is the Great White. Now that I was somewhere else, I knew that the mountain, the tram, hell, just in general, New Hampshire was where I needed to be, but only in absentia. It seemed like wherever I was stuck in a joyless Oz, and I couldn't just click my heels and say, "There's no place like home." Then poof, there I am. Besides, where the hell is that? Back then, that was a big Zen code or some such shit. But now, the answer to where the hell is home is a cinch. Anywhere but here. Next question. Thank God for coffee. Good coffee, that is. Shit, that's another thing I don't have anymore. Sure is shitty coffee here at the asylum. But the exchange? I had no idea how lucky I was. I'll take that back. Even with everybody bitching and moaning, I managed to hold on to just a bit of that sheen the snowstorm left behind as I searched my notes for the Great White. That sneaky bastard was hiding somewhere in clear view. I just knew it. Meanwhile, the snow, slow but sure, was becoming rain. So I stayed in all day, either at the exchange or later back in my apartment. Back home, I listened to All Things Considered when I heard a story about good old Fred Karger, still running as a log cabin Republican in a Republican Party that wasn't budging to the left on anything. There he was in Michigan now, still flailing away at windmills. But he was still in the game. More than I could say about myself, he had his own small ball strategies. Now his thing was to put all his efforts into one county, complete with his puny efforts at an air war, trying to get Democrats and independents to the polls, anything to get some delegates to the big dance, the convention, his own Oz. Say what you will, though, he was still there, fighting the fight, dancing the dance. And me? I left the dance when the dance left New Hampshire, and I kind of bemoaned that fact. Just as Fred, in retrospect, bemoaned the fact that the debate happened and no gay candidate was behind any podium. At least he had an agenda. If I had won the lottery, what would I have done? What was my version of small ball? Maybe it was the same as Fred's. Maybe I just wanted to be a square peg in a world of round holes. But I wanted those round holes to acknowledge my existence and to care. And meanwhile, February became March, and by then I knew that March would be my last month at the crack house with the slumlord. To tell you the truth, that was 1 month too many. Once again, I paid the price for being a nice guy. I wanted to give a month's notice, supposedly to get my deposit back. But really, do I look like I was born yesterday? Did I for a minute think that a guy I not so lovingly named Slumlord was going to give me a dime of my deposit back? How about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny? You think I believe in them too? In the meantime, you know that Beatles song, I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends? Well, that was kind of my situation in the housing realm, with a great apartment to move into about a block and a half from the coffee exchange, with a landlord that was one of my best friends, as well as the best landlord I could in my wildest dream hope for. And I didn't even know how blessed I was until I had the stroke. You know, he was the first person to visit me at this insane asylum. You know what he told me? This is not where you want to be. But in the meantime, you're a writer. Take good notes because this place is a gold mine, which was exactly what I needed to hear. A gem in my life, I'll tell you. And I knew he was special. But how special? I didn't have a clue. Yet I wanted to be fair to the slumlord. That was why exactly? So I guess it's no surprise to you that my landlord was an asshole as soon as I gave my notice. Strike that. He became even more of an asshole. It's not like he went from prince to asshole in one fell swoop. He started at asshole and went straight to miserable excuse for a human being. What an asshole. First off, I wanted to use my deposit to pay the last month's rent since they were for the same amount. Let's just say he wasn't receptive. Before too long, he was threatening to lock me out of my apartment, put my stuff on the porch, claim I was squatting there. I don't even remember on what grounds, but I better pay my rent now. Only got $150. That was pretty much true. When can you get the rest? 2 weeks. That was true as far as it went. Truth was, sir, I had no intention of paying a dime of it to the sleazeball. He was playing checkers, I was playing chess. Low level chess, I admit, but chess nonetheless. And I was shooting for a draw because 150 was half a month's rent. I figured that was fair. Legal? Oh, please, sir. The place was nowhere near legal. Remember the guy's name? Slumlord? I'm not kidding. He was the real deal. One good thing was that even though I had a slumlord, I didn't live in a slum. Out of doors, that is. When you live with a crackhead that has a crackhead friend, it's like your own private slum. March was going to be a long month, which is why weekend trips were much appreciated. The first one was going to be a bittersweet trip to the Cape. You remember my new landlord, the gem in my life? Well, his brother was also a great gift in my life, and his birthday was this past week. That was the sweet, but kind of the bitter, too. You see, Josh, that was the older brother's name. Anyway, Josh shared a birthday with his dad. Talk about one of a kind. That was Sid in a nutshell. Sid was, I don't know, big, bigger than life. Not physically. He was neither big nor small physically, but his personality, more than that, his heart, his soul was big, bigger than his own good, maybe. How can I describe Sid? That's a tough one. One thing, when Sid's got money, all his friends got money. And if you needed a ride back from the emergency room at all hours, Sid's your man. That one I know from personal experience. My favorite Sid story has to do with a crumbling relationship with his second wife. I, at the time, was living at the worst place of all of them. All, well, except for this place. This place has its own unique spot in my personal hell. Anyway, that's what was going on in our lives when my phone rang. Hey, Sid. Hey, Spike. I think I can help you out with housing. Do tell. I really was interested because all the cosmic connections with this place were beyond bad. Do you like it here? You mean your place? What's the catch? I want you sleeping on the couch, annoying my wife. Ah, there's the rub. I mean it. You don't even have to be nice. Oh, you're wrong there. I have no choice. I have to be nice. It's genetic. Oh, okay, you're right. Be nice, but don't go overboard. Don't go out of your way to be welcoming. It's actually her job to be welcoming. It's her place. It's my place. Awkward silence. I'm the one that pays the bills. It'd be different if you made an effort at anything other than have nice tits. And I paid for those tits. I was fascinated. You mean that's not what God gave her? I'm about as close to God as that girl will ever get. I don't really know her. She doesn't know a whole lot of English. I didn't know you were so fluent at Spanish. Evidently, I'm not. So, anyway, I hated my place so bad that Sid's couch seemed a decent idea. I'll call you tomorrow. But when tomorrow came, it was Sid that called to me. Sorry, Spike, but my lawyer thinks it's not a good idea. God, I miss Sid. There'll never be another like him. At his house, after his funeral, about three people told his former wife, the first wife, the mother of his children, the one he never should have let get away. Anyway, three people told her I was his best friend. I don't know if I was his best friend, but he was pretty damn close to being mine. And this was going to be his first birthday since he died pretty suddenly, about 6 months before. That was the bitter part of the trip. The sweet was there was the Cape, lots of love, and also a lot of chess. When I think of it, chess just might be my greatest love, even more than chasing wannabes through the majesty of New Hampshire, and nowhere near as fickle as the Great White. So I met up with some friends of my future landlord so I could get to the Cape for the festivities. About two-thirds of the way there, I got a call from the landlord from hell. So you got that $150 you owe me? Has it been 2 weeks already? I decided to play dumb. Little did I know what a natural I was. Don't give me that shit. I can put your shit on the porch and tell the cops that I don't know who the fuck you are. I got no ID on you. What the fuck? You come here for 1 month. You're not even telling me why you're screwing. I'm not too crazy about living with a crackhead. Everyone in this car is shaking their head. They heard the whole conversation. You're on speaker. There was silence on the line. Bullshit. Which of course it was. Plus, a whole shitload of my friends have seen me use a key to get in my apartment. Bullshit. Which of course it wasn't. You could be in a world of hurt for 150 lousy bucks. The 2 measly weeks until the first of the month. How do I know you'll leave on the first? Jesus, the first can't come fast enough. Like an idiot, I figured you deserved a month's notice or you'd be a bad memory already. Didn't even tell me why you're leaving. What part of I don't like living with the crackhead do you not understand? I don't know why, but I went easy on the guy. No, I lied. I had already told him about the million and one things wrong with the apartment. I knew he wouldn't accept any responsibility, never mind blame. I wasn't going easy on him. I was going easy on me. He didn't know what to say, which was fine with me. So I figured half the month's rent was fair. Remember, I gave you $300 deposit for the privilege of living with a crackhead for 2 months. I'd like to think that's how it all went down. What the hell, sir? Let's pretend that it was. It's all water under the bridge now, anyway. Damn March was taking its damn time leaving that time around. But wouldn't you know it? Events of the world at large almost made me see how insignificant my problems were. And compared to now, I had no idea how good I had it then. Don't get me wrong, though. My wife wasn't hell. I know that now, but it was a giant pain in the ass. Late the night I came back from the Cape, everything fell into perspective. It was really late, 1 a.m. late, maybe even later. Evidently, it wasn't too late for a crackhead to crank up the tunes, but it wasn't late enough for that crackhead to realize that he was permanently out of tune with Johnny Cash. It didn't matter what song either, whether he was singing Gut Rhythm If I Got the Blues or croaking, My Name is Sue, How Do You Do? My God, he was awful. So I upped the volume on NPR's coverage of the BBC, and the story put a chill right through my spine. It was about one of us, an American soldier, a rogue agent in either Afghanistan or Iraq, I forget, that went mad, that lost any humanity he ever had. Anyway, this guy, in the dead of night, went to one house and shot five, then moved on. Every step he took, he added to his trail of death. Women and children, mostly, one only 2 months old. Here I was, feeling trapped. Meanwhile, these poor people are sentenced to death for the existential crime of being. They had the misfortune of appearing before the one man judge, jury, executioner. What's that? Time? It's funny how you never know when your own time comes. Primary Tourist, Chapter 33. You know what sucks? It sucks how the present can totally fuck up the past. How about hope and change, for instance? I hate to quote Sarah Palin, but how's that working out for you? How'd that one end up? You know what I mean? It isn't pretty what the present does to the past. I'll tell you one thing, that Johnny Cash tune, Ring of Fire, will never be the same for me ever again. Shame, too, because I had a fond memory of it. You know, being a kid, having that love in the house, and damn it, we were all so fucking young then. Time, man, it only goes one way. Man, could that crackhead butcher a song at such volume? Jesus, there was no getting away from it. What chance does nostalgia have against such horrors? For me, my own personal ring of fire will always be lined with an out of tune lost soul. And just where's my soul now you mention it? Poor crackhead. Underneath it all, he wasn't a bad guy. Not really. So he had this fantasy he was going to be a Vegas card dealer. Who's that hurt? Other than himself, that is, I guess, wasting all that energy and all. But everybody needs a dream. What did hurt people was his crack addiction. But damn, how can I judge someone with that huge a monkey on his back? I will say one thing though. Feeling sympathy for the poor guy didn't make me want to run away any slower. Who knows? He might be catchy. April couldn't get here any slower. So there I was in my own private purgatory when I got a text from heaven. Well, Corina actually, but close enough. If I picked you up in Boston around 6, would that make it easier for you to get to the mountain? I completely forgot that I mentioned a while back that I wanted to go up to Canada to get away from this mess. I did some quick math concerning my finances and figured, damn, I just barely can do this. Hallelujah. I thought that said it all. So we rendezvoused in Cambridge the next day, and I slept at Karina's apartment, ready for a real early start Saturday morning. I decided not to eat my medicated chocolate just in case Karina wanted me to drive. It was kind of too bad because it would have been nice to have a buzz on up north with cloud formations mingling with the mountains right as the sunrise made the clouds bright, bright, bright orange, except when ominous purple. Wasn't that buzz enough? On top of all that was Karina's smile. At the base of the mountains, clouds got thicker and thicker. Visibility became more and more limited. But hey, it felt like it just might snow. Karina's mood got darker along with the clouds. As we get closer to the ski lodge's parking lot, you could see the stress of essentially being a single parent weigh heavier and heavier on her. So I helped out a bit with getting the gear into the lodge. I really didn't help out all that much, but it was enough to put a smile back on her lips. Comes to think of it, maybe the change of mood was more due to the fact that it was now full on snowing. The snow, both in the air and on the ground, had a curative effect. Supposedly, the best way to get the full effect was with skis on. I wouldn't know. I never joined the cult of the ski. The truth of the matter is, I had two left feet. Ha ha ha. Nowadays, the left foot is the good one. So, anyway, once the gear was all set, it was time for me to take a short hike partway up Bald Mountain, just on the other side of the parking lot. Finally, chocolate. Then a walk up a hill to an overlook. What the overlook was overlooking were these chairlifts, unoccupied, but still moving into the invisible. It had stopped snowing, but in its wake was a haze. Lifts to nowhere is what they looked like. Hey, buddy, want a lift to nowhere? Sorry, I get to amuse myself these days. Anyway, that day I listened to the birds with their early morning song, a song to spring just around the corner. Ding ding, incoming text. Ding ding, long incoming text. Probably Jenny, which it was. Hey, been busy. I will sum up my week in haiku. Lost the keys in charge. Roadside waiting, got Wendy's. Then the spider bite. Damn, the syllables work out. Mine never did, so I stopped trying. This one had a little mystery to it. Where was the spider bite? And who was bitten? Her? Her daughter? Rather than ask, I decided to describe my day. As always, I didn't count syllables. I took another look at the list to nowhere, noticing that the cloud cover toward the top was dissipating, revealing some blue skies close to the summit. Halfway up one New Hampshire mountain, looking at another, talking to you. Send. I looked some more at the summit, seeing more and more blue as the effects of my chocolate medicine simultaneously kicked in. Damn, life was good back then. Ding ding. Let's write haikus to each other. That brought a smile to my lips because I knew she brought it up because I was writing spaikus, that she liked the ones I read to her. Just wanted to make sure I remembered the difference between a spaiku and a haiku. Spike doesn't count syllables. Send. Silence, save for the birds. Ding ding. But Spike counts as a syllable. I'm not exactly sure why, but that just tickled me. My laughter echoed throughout the land, completely drowning out the birds. Ding ding, LOL. You can say that again. It sure did make March go by just a little quicker. A few blinks of an eye and then gone forever. Blink. March 25th. Last Sunday for both the ski season and for me in my own private slum. Good time to talk to Karina. Damn, I'll miss the ding ding sound of a text coming in. Tilton, the message always read. And to me, it said it all. They're one cup of coffee away from the mountains, if only they drank coffee. Blink. March 26th, the very next day, I saw a reflection of the sunrise on Rhode Island Hospital. Bittersweet. No matter how glorious the sunrise is, from inside the outlook is always glum, if not grave. I thought about Nick. Jesus, has it already been almost 4 years since he's been gone? These blinks of the eye go by so quick. Too quick sometimes, whether we believe it or not. Before you knew it, it was March 31st. Time for that last blink of the eye. Time to say bye-bye to the slumlord and never to look back. And more, it was time to say goodbye to a whole parade of not Romneys. The only one worth a damn was John Huntsman, and he was gone since January. To be honest, though, you could see that the Republicans were in no mood to be reasonable. He really had to be a more solid third in New Hampshire. Money really had to come in, and it never did. 2012 was a terrible year for reason. Newt was still around, hanging tough in the race of the not Romneys. In fact, he was hanging in among all the not Romneys, a disappointing Super Tuesday notwithstanding. If that didn't tell you a whole shitload about Republicans these days, I don't know what does. Of course, he had a sugar daddy, which goes far in this game. Even with a sugar daddy, though, he built a debt of $4 million. That sure is an expensive dance, but he was still around on April 1st. Hell, he was around most of fucking April. Officially, it was the whole month, but do you really count the times that you're running on fumes? You know, campaigns are just like life in one way. After a while, it's better for everybody's sake just to pull the plug. My old shooting buddy, Rick Santorum, was still alive, if not kicking, on April Fool's Day. He sure was kicking up until Super Tuesday, I'll tell you. Hell, There was some poll back in February that had him meeting Obama head to head. Just went to show that a shitload of people were ready to vote not Obama. But not Obama had to be better than this lot of not Romneys. And how about that Ron Paul? He was the damnedest Republican, for one thing, especially in foreign policy. No way in hell was the Republican Party going to nominate him, but there was a fervor there, which leads to money, mostly from smaller donors. It also led to zealous and borderline crazy workers. It also led to a fair amount of votes, as far as not Romneys go, anyway. All of them had their blink of an eye, and now they're all gone. I think maybe I had my blink of an eye, just like them. And just like them, I'm gone. So, anyway, last April, things were looking up, or at least I could see up from here. Do you know what I mean? At least I wasn't in my own private slum. The new apartment, in fact, was pretty damn nice. Although I got the worst room, but that's to be expected. At least there's not a crackhead in sight. There is, however, a god awful musician. I can't have everything, I guess. Besides, the exchange was only a block and a half away, and spring was here in all its glory. Life was good. So good, in fact, that I didn't even mind so much that the great white was in hiding. It's not like I didn't try. I looked at my primary notes, tried to add to them, but I felt I had no scoop. Wasn't saying anything others weren't saying faster, if not better. Who am I kidding? Somebody out there was saying it better, too. Somebody's dining on the great white tonight, just not me. I'll tell you the truth, sir. I always had mixed feelings about April, about spring in general, actually. It's true that everything comes to life and beauty is all around, but somehow all that beauty, not to mention love, in the air makes my mind numbingly lonesome. That's what I thought at the time. Now I know that I didn't know shit about loneliness. Here, all I have is loneliness, especially when there's a lot of people around, and it's not even spring. Damnedest thing, there was an on point episode toward the end of the month that cut to the heart of the whole loneliness matter. It was a segment on touch. Touch is important to us humans. I didn't even catch the guy's name, but he was one of the experts on the show, you know what I mean? And he was right. I could see it then, and I can really see it now. You see, I was even then intimately familiar with what no touch did to humans. Now, holy Jesus, every touch you can get, you savor, because there is so much humanity not in touch with anything, least of all reality, so much intimacy avoided. Damn, I'm starving, you know what I mean? Yes, touch is important to us humans. Nothing like the lack of it, especially in the spring, lets you know how true that is. The hell of it is, the story wasn't about loneliness, not at all. It was about the power of touch. Even a light touch on the shoulder or arm. You might not even notice it, but that touch leads to trust, and beyond that, straight to affection. And Tom Ashcroft mentioned the master of touch himself, Bill Clinton. And in my head, I was back in New Hampshire, on the range, watching Rick Santorum shake Erica's hand, watching his charm, his touch doing magic, transforming himself from an object of scorn to that rarest of rarities, a human being. That is the miracle of touch, New Hampshire style. But you know what? If anybody was wanting in the world of touch, it was Mitt Romney. What he wasn't wanting in, though, was money. And money had a magic all its own. And that was the magic that won the day that spring. Oh, yeah. Green always seemed to win the day in the spring. The only green I had was the kind you smoked. But that was enough. Life was good. So where was I? Oh, yeah. Touch, no touch, springtime. I remember it well. It wasn't really that long ago. Seems like it, though. I bet it feels like it to Mitt. Damn, you got to figure he was thinking he was in at that time. The whole enchilada was there to be taken. He thought he saw a weakness in Obama, and he was right. Millions of people were ready for a change, maybe even a little hope. But not just any change. Where's the hope in that? Their minds weren't made up, and their hearts were up for grabs. Mitt Romney wanted it so bad he could taste it. But Mitt never was the type to win a lot of hearts. It takes one to win one. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, John Edwards' bad karma for years past was the talk of the day. And even though it had nothing to do with Obama, it wasn't great if your party's 2004 vice presidential candidate is looking at jail time. Serious jail time. 30 years. Shit, if somebody told me I had to live here for 30 years, I don't know what the fuck I'd do. But then again, this place isn't prison, is it, sir? That's a good question, isn't it? The hell of it is, I feel like I was found guilty without a trial. Okay, I admit it. I let my blood pressure go through the roof, and yes, I am poor and uninsured. But Jesus, it's not like anyone accused me of fraud or I was being investigated by the Justice Department for taking political donations to hide my affair or anything. But what did I know back then? I was just glad I wasn't John Edwards. So April, like March, like February, like even that special January, was gone so quick. But not Jenny. She wasn't gone at all. The Accelerators were definitely the shit, becoming one of Providence's hottest new bands. It was a two-person band, but they weren't equal parts. She did the writing, the singing, the fronting, the guitar playing. He played the drums. They both did the dreaming, but then again, she was better at it. No one could dream like Jenny, except me when I'm near Jenny. I don't do much dreaming around here, except nightmares. But May, even June, July, those were some good months for dreaming. One day in May, now that I look back on it, was the pinnacle of my dreaming. Very sweet dreaming. No nightmares in the neighborhood, not then. It was the 24th of May, Bob Dylan's 71st birthday. There was a big Dylan tribute going on at the Met. A whole slew of local bands were playing 3 Dylan tunes each, and opening the festivities was the Accelerators. And of course, I was there. Funny how I took that stuff for granted back then. Where else was I going to be? You know what I mean? Surely not an asylum. I'll tell you the truth, sir. A lot of the evening is a blur to me now. I remember, though, that Jenny was radiant, even more radiant than usual. Real sexy radiant, too. So I'll never forget that. But what I'll really never forget is the dance. I'll never forget that as long as I live. Are you a dancer, sir? No? I don't even mean a good dancer. Just, do you like, shaking it? Not even just a little? Too bad, man. There's nothing like it. To tell you the truth, I think I miss dancing as much as I miss walking. More even. And every now and then, just by sharing this moment, this movement, this song with just one person, like I say, every now and then, it's magic. And you both know it. If you're cursed or maybe blessed, you'll never forget it. So I guess you figured out by now the dance was with Jenny. The song was, tell you the truth, I have no recollection of the song. Isn't that weird? Mostly I remember Jenny. I was bouncing to the music all by myself, but my bounce had a purpose, a direction. Jenny was way over there. I'm over here. What's wrong with this picture? Nothing a determined, well-directed bounce can't do wonders for. Much better than Photoshop even. And my bounce was nothing if not determined. So there we were before you knew it, face to face, and she was beaming. For me as much as the music. And I'm sorry for you, sir, there's nothing like it. It's like I died and went to heaven. as close as I'm likely to get anytime soon. I can't even explain it, but there I was, pointing up or down. Then our bodies followed, as high or low as we could get, hand in hand. Ah, the things I could do with 2 feet, with 2 hands. It's like I was a step closer to heaven then, like I fell a step toward hell. Not then, though. I wasn't stumbling then, not a bit. I was spinning and swinging. Better yet, we were spinning and swinging, her and I, in unison. You know, the weirdest thing? I was like writing my novel in my head. You know what I mean? Of all the times for the great right to show its head, do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it was cornier than I thought at the time. You know, happy ever after and all that shit. Seems like such gold when you're under the spell. When I spin as she spins together in unison, or better yet, when my hand was on her neck under this really sexy dress, wow, I didn't need the great white to point me in the right direction. I thought I had an intimate relationship with happy ever after. All I had to do is take this moment and make it last forever. But, you know, you better make sure you pick the right moment if you want a good, unambiguous, happy to go with ever after. Damn, sir, I could have picked the night before. I'm pretty sure I was more sunk in the ever after department than I was completely sold on the happy part. What did you listen to in the 90s? She asked me, with today's music, or was it yesterday's music, blaring from her car radio. Oh, I love this song. And she turned it up a notch, or two, maybe three. You know what's kind of weird, sir? I don't remember the music, not one note. What I remember was that it was so loud that I hear the 90s in my head. Couldn't remember what I heard any time when I could hear anything over the blaring and her joining in, remembering every word. So for the longest time, I said nothing. What did you say? She asked me. Bluegrass, jazz. I said some other things, can't remember what. It's not really important anyway. It's not as if she could hear me anyway, even if she was listening. Ah, but I got to watch. Got to see her wild, curly hair wave in the wind. Got to see her head nod to the music. Got to wonder how she could completely control the car while one hand is cranking tunes and the other is fishing out and then lighting a cigarette. Oh, yes, the ever after looked pretty solid, but I'm not so sure about the happy part. You see, sir, I don't know about you, but I love music. What do you do when the music becomes noise? It's like a big part of my soul was ripped out. So much better to freeze the dance, as magic a dance as anything Fred Astaire ever did. What's that? Time? Huh. If only I could choose which time.